Hi everyone, welcome back to I Have Karina TV. It's your girl Karina, and we are going to talk about the Sun and the Mars conjunction that's happening this week. In these series of videos, I want to focus on the details of the inner workings of how the planets are moving because they all have a very specific output and message that they're giving. And then when you look at the large picture, you can see that all of this is happening at once. And there's truly a concept of this series of videos where I'm documenting the beginning of an incredible transformation that's about to happen globally, and I mean we have already started to see the 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 upbringing of the toxic nature of how we are relating to each other globally. And now we're going to see how things are going to unfold. Okay. And so, this very specific transit, Mars and the Sun, in a conjunction in Libra, is very telling at the moment that this is happening. And where this is happening globally, it speaks on a platform of politics and really trying to find equality and fairness in a contractual agreement amongst humanity. And in your chart, in your personal charts, this Mars and Sun conjunction is very feisty, pulling out for you the parts of you that are fighting to end the war. And wherever that war is in your life, you may find it on the axis of Libra and Aries right now. And so now we have Libra's opposite energies planet, Mars, in her sign. So either she can be overcome by Mars or she can use Mars. And this goes up to you for the tools that you have in your life. Now, where Mars and the Sun are in conjunction in Libra shows a strong divine masculine energy. I feel like this is important to understand because no matter the gender, we all can evoke our masculine energy. And this astrological generalization that we get in seeing planets that just embody masculine energy, we can see how, we can tap into this. So this is about being deeply connected to someone, right? If through a harmonious relationship or an oppositional one, being deeply connected to an enemy, an opposing force. This can also be what comes out this week. And there's deep passion in this connection for a need to be heard, for a need to feel equal, for a need to feel equally heard, for a conversation to be had that is like a negotiation for the sake of negotiation versus the closure that the negotiation may even bring. There's an art of negotiation that is happening here. And I really want to tie this in to looking at Libra's energy. That because the Sun and Mars are deeply masculine and then they're in Libra, we start to see, the concepts of beauty, femininity that will be brought up to the table on a more political and massive scale. Okay. And these things will be in question at this time, weighed and measured. As I've stressed on this channel, that Libra is the measurement of value, and we get that from her ruling planet Venus. And Venus, in a lot of ways, I have theorized on this channel, embodies a dominant masculine energy in its own right. Venus, the planet Venus, is not as feminine as you think, is the series that I have created. So what I want to share with you guys is how Venus is a concept, and I wrote it here. So let me just pull it up here. Venus is a concept of love being an act of war against war. Love being an act of war against war. Now, Venus is not just love. Venus is also beauty, and we can see beauty and love intertwined sometimes. But in beauty's own autonomous right to stand on its own, beauty as well is an act of war against war. So, looking at how this war is happening with Mars and the Sun in a difficult sign to be in, where they can't truly fight, they must use love, they must use beauty as an act of war to fight the bad guy, right? To fight off the true opposing force. So this week, where you have the Sun and the Mars, you have a couple of things that you have to focus on. One of those things being who is the true enemy and what is the true enemy. You'll have to focus on discovering and identifying that for you in this act of war against war. You'll have to figure out who is the true enemy. So we'll be going through the houses and we can talk about this, based off of the house placement, where Libra is, where Mars and the Sun are transiting. The other thing here is the art of negotiation against the opponent, the apparent enemy or the true opponent, okay? The apparent enemy or the truest opponent. The negotiation that is happening between you and that other entity. So this requires a need to not necessarily have an ending, but have an art of conversation, an art of negotiation, an art of the process of being mediating, becoming your own mediator, so that you can use love and beauty that Libra brings to the war. So even in the sense of war with Mars and the Sun, we don't typically get the idea of, when you watch a war movie, you don't get the idea of somebody going out and fighting with their heels on and things like that. But that's exactly what Mars is doing here in Libra. Mars is out fighting with the heels on. Okay. And so this gives a different art of war, a different art of war that is based off of love, mediation, negotiation, preference. It's about all of these things that Venus brings to the table. And this is a true gift of Venus that we get, because Venus then becomes the very thing that Venus is, which is a checks and balanced modality. Especially in Libra, we find Venus is the measure of, are you fair? Are you equal? Are you balanced in your mental and emotional and spiritual and physical plane? How balanced are you? And Venus becomes the measurement of that. And so through the very act of being beautiful, of being an emblem of love, of being a great negotiator, a great mediator, of the art of these things, of being an artist yourself, art itself is an act of war, right, against war, which means that art itself cancels war and creates peace. Beauty itself cancels war and creates peace. Love, and the way that characterize your definition of love, is an act of war against war that creates peace. So when Mars and the Sun come here, they are boastful, right, about their art of war and the way that they get to that peace. And it may be through any of the Venusian qualities that we know of to be, again, love, beauty, relationships, mediation, negotiation, conversation, and the art and the choosing to love and to abide by those things. So this is a very exciting week, I feel, and it shows the beauty that Venus can bring to the world and the art of what Libra brings to the world, in the importance of Libra, the importance of checks and balances. And this is why Libra also is a significant energy, because Libra is the opposing, right? The opposing zodiac sign of Aries, which is the sign that rules over war. So Libra is the solution. And through the very axis of Libra and Aries, we find the secrets of true love. We find the secrets of love. We find the secrets of how to love, right? We also find the ability to take down our enemies without fighting. That's what we find in Libra, the ability to take down our enemies through a more harmonious or peaceful way. So, yeah, come in. I'm just recording myself, so I can edit that part out. So I've broken down the concept of Mars and the sun and how we're using it. And so what we can also say is that you're focusing on your art of negotiation. You're focusing on what part or aspect of Venus you're bringing to be an act of war, and what is the peace, what is the destination of peace that you want. So we can now go through the houses. We can go through the house placements of where Libra is in your chart and apply these theories to it. So we can start with the first house, in which your enemy. So let me start that over because I forgot this one part. All right, so we can actually now go through the houses and start to focus on certain elements as you find Libra in your chart and use some of these theories about this transit, right? This transit of the sun and the Mars fighting with its heels on in Libra. So, and also this where this is happening, Mars is fighting in a different way, right? In a more harmonious way. Mars and the sun are also bragging in the sense of bringing out a sense of pride of a political stance. You can also see that. But essentially, what I want to go through the houses in this video and look at is who might be the enemy, right? Helping you to identify that, because that is really truly important dealing with this Libra and Aries energy. And then what is the act of war that you're choosing to end the war? Okay, so basically, what is your act of war that cancels out the war? What is your act of war that creates peace? And so we can also say, is it beauty? Is it what Venus aspect are you using, right? Is it your beauty? Is it negotiations? Is it relationships? Or is it a select version of all of those? So let's start with the first house. Well, the first house, your apparent enemy will be your partnership, but your true actual enemy will be yourself. And it will be specifically your self image, and the self image or personality or mask of self, right? That impressionable self that you kind of craft and you put out into the world, because this is Libra rising, it's the ascendant. And so this is a part of what Mars and the sun are fighting for, which is your self image and how you're crafting it, and how you're making it beautiful or harmonious. And these literal concepts might be the very war that is occurring. So it could be a war with self image, it could be a war with crafting itself, like crafting who you want to, what kind of person do you want to present to the world? That actual crafting, that art that Libra brings, that itself could be the enemy, could be the conflict that you may be struggling with. So the solution is lying in your hands to choose, and to choose confidently what is going to help guide, heal, be the mediator, and the art of negotiation about your body image. This might be coming to the place of recognizing what you like and what you don't like. That just very simple on that. And coming to a place of negotiation about that very thing. Now, let's look at Libra in the second house. Libra in the second house, your apparent enemy might be the shared money that you have with someone else, right? Or the inheritance that should have been coming to you. It might be somebody who holds inheritance, like, maybe somebody who's the executor. This could be the government's support. You like the way that the government supports you or takes care of you. That could be the apparent enemy. But Libra in the second house is saying that your truest enemy is your resourcefulness. And your truest conflict, in fact, is your resourcefulness. And so the sun and Mars is going to help you to tap into the will to embody your own resourcefulness and to gain a confidence, almost a braggadocious about your resourcefulness. That's what I missed in the first house, that the sun and the Mars helps to create a braggadocious energy and a will, when they have finally, chosen that art of love, to love self, to love body image, and to negotiate with self about body image in the first house, and to come to a place of braggadocious will towards body image. So in the second house, Libra in the second house, that becomes it as well. It becomes a braggadocious confidence, a flair about your resourcefulness, meaning that once you tap in, you have ended the war. You have ended the war with your own self inability to be resourceful, and have created peace with that ability to be resourceful in whatever capacity that might be for you. Now, Libra in the third house creates conflict and an apparent enemy with a teacher, a guru, a college situation or college professor, a travel plan or something like that. The apparent enemy might be somebody you're traveling with, or some role. These are the role players that may be the apparent enemy, but the true enemy may actually be coming from your ability to communicate and your ability to understand your environment, to understand what's around you, what is needed of you around you, like what is your contribution to your environment. Once you can see that enemy, then you can choose to be an act of love, or a love act of beauty, right? So that would be loving the people around you, or beautifying the environment around you, or or investing in the environment around you. Any of the Venus traits that could help to bring peace to the communication that is becoming the true conflict. So this may be the ultimate position of a serious verbal fight, right? Or a social media spat. And so this would be about being more contributing to the environment, to those around you, and beautifying it, and making a choice to do that. So you might have to deal with your own inner resistance to want to beautify your environment, or to want to care or contribute to the people around you. And that's the true conflict, the true war that we're trying to end using Venus. Now in the fourth house, Libra, Libra is in conflict and socio-political with the family dynamics. And this might be recognizing certain toxic traits that and role plays that don't work in the relationships amongst family members in the fourth house. And so the war and conflict may be clear, and and especially in this position, it may be emotionally, more motivated as well. This provides for you to choose a Venus trait, love, beauty, relationships, or negotiation, that helps to bring and mediate two, maybe two families together, or you and a family member, or family with another family could even be something like that, or family with their own truth, like their own understanding of their cycles, their own heritage, their own genealogy, their own pathology. A family being able to handle the opposite force. That opposing enemy is bringing a truth that we don't want to handle. So in the fourth house, it could appear to be like the opposing enemy is a boss, or somebody's loss of a title, loss of a authoritative place. It could be something like that, or the threat of that loss. But what's really needed is to recognize the true enemy is the conflict within family relations and foundational support. And choosing love as an act of war against war in the fourth house, choosing Venus's traits. Now, in the fifth house, Libra here actually gets very indulgent, and is also extremely artistic, extremely expressive, and very particular about that expression, with the freedom to have that and extremely also overly stimulated can be the tendency with Libra here. So the conflict might be with too much joy. The conflict here might be with too much stimulation, too much indulgence with Libra here, and it might be too much indulgence in romantic partners, too much indulgence in the things that make up the courting energy. And the true enemy might be a friend. The true enemy might be like a friend's opinion, or the way that you look to a certain amount of people, or to your supporters, the way that you look to your fans, maybe the followers that you have. That might be the enemy. That might be the actual threat, that the threat that appears to be the threat, but the truest threat is the overindulgence, the overabundance need for whatever is happening where Libra is in the fifth house. It might even be like just needing to have the perfect talent, or the most beautiful talent, the need to have the most beautiful partner. All right, using Venus in a way that almost fights herself in this area. The need to be boastful about your talent because it's the fifth house of expression. The need to be all the way out there, like all the way big and proud about your beauty. So here you are working with choosing to use Venus to take end the war that might be the indulgence of Venus, the over exploiting of Venus. Here, you might be ending a war with your own uh, over abuse of beauty, over abuse of relationships, maybe even over abuse of negotiation. Um, so that is a very complex place actually here, but creates, the truest joy, the finding the golden nugget, the true treasure of what your joy really is, by finding that peace, by fighting for that peace. Now, Libra in the sixth house, Mars in the sun, is finding the enemy to be uh, the the concept of being alone. The threat, the enemy is that maybe even abandonment. In the sixth house, Libra, the enemy could be sleeping, like having your sleep. So you might have insomnia with this, with Libra here. You might have nightmares, right? It might be that, it might be based around things like that. And Libra in the sixth house, the actual enemy is coming from your health, from what it is that you're, how much sleep you're getting. Like, it is coming from the direct lack of sleep. It is coming from what you're eating. It is coming from how well you take care of yourself every day, with Libra in the sixth house. So the true enemy becomes dissipated through the finding of wholeness, and being comfortable with being alone, and making being alone beautiful, or making your work environment more beautiful, being in a work environment that is literally centered around beauty. This could be an act of war against the conflict within yourself. Maybe if you're around more beauty, you feel more inspired to take care of yourself. Maybe if you're around more people who have relationships, you can almost ingrain in yourself that relationships are real and that relationships last. So here, the act of war um, is finding that peace with your mental clarity, with your self accountability. It's finding a peace with your ability to take care of yourself and be accountable for taking care of yourself. And it is a level of maturity, because we're not looking for like our moms to take care of ourselves in the sixth house. We have to find it for ourselves. So that could be the motivation. You can use Venus as the motivation, as the gateway to peace. Okay, now moving into the seventh house, this is Libra's actual placement. And so the actual enemy may be yourself. This might be someone attacking you. It might be someone saying that you're wrong, or that you're the bad guy. And what's actually the enemy might be your actual partner, right? They might be an enemy to you. They might be choosing you as the enemy. They might be an enemy to themselves, but they're your partner, with Libra in the seventh house. So the actual enemy is coming from the contract between your partner as well. So this is a definitive place for negotiation with Libra in the seventh house, but it's not necessarily to have the contract right now. There's reasons behind that go beyond just the sun and Mars being here. But what's important is that with Libra in the seventh house, the negotiation and art of negotiation itself is the act of war against the war. The ability to negotiate is what creates peace between you and your partner. The ability to negotiate does become the thing that helps your partner to create peace within themselves, and the inclusion of beauty to whatever capacity that is for you and your partner also becomes an act of war against war, as long as we can have the negotiations with that. It becomes very political. It becomes very much so about what's fair and just and what's equal, and the art of understanding that, the art of understanding the win-win that Venus wants to bring with equality, that is naturally placed with Venus, with Libra here, and that you may be Mars fighting with their heels on, in this situation, not trying to pulverize your partner or not trying to defend yourself because you're the clear enemy, but you're not, right? But the ability to see everything, or to act on love, or to act on peace and harmony, to act with the intention of love and peace and harmony. Now, with Libra in the eighth house, the apparent enemy might actually be your income. You might be feeling like, I'm not making enough money, or you might be feeling anxiety around that, or the need and the will to make money, or that somebody might be in the place of you getting your money. But all of that is the apparent enemy, and the true enemy is you and your ability to share with somebody, or to invest in someone. And so the conflict will be coming more from that arena, that space, that truth of your capacity to share. And this is not just sharing money, but it's sharing yourself, sharing your intimacy, sharing your essence with someone else. And so you can do this through the art of Venus. Venus can bring that Libra energy, can is Mars with their heels on. So you bring the beauty to help alleviate the Brit, like the disconnect. You bring the beauty to help bring your intimacy closer together. So beauty becomes a tool here. You bring the negotiation, so that the art of having patience with one another creates a trust with one another, with Libra here in the eighth house. So these are how we can act on war and create peace. In the ninth house, the apparent enemy may be your lower mind. It might be your capacity to maybe even have an evil eye, or to have a negative way of speaking that seems to be your enemy. So you may be having people saying, oh, you curse too much, or I don't understand what you're saying. It may be your communication that is the apparent enemy, but your true enemy is the philosophy behind your communication. It's the intention and what you're trying to do with your philosophy that is in jeopardy of your communication. And so there is a level of adding beauty to your philosophy. Your philosophy may be lacking a sense of balance. Your philosophy might be lacking a sense of a win-win. You may be too much in the teacher role versus a student role, or something like that with the ninth house placement. You might be too much engulfed in the value of these things versus, like what they can bring you versus what you can bring to others, meaning what your philosophy does to help others improve their spiritual lives. That could be an art of war for peace, right? The art using Venus to create peace. So the goal here is to end the religious war, is to end the faith wars, is to end the differentiation of faith, right, and of belief in the ninth house, and to come to some mediation, which is one of the hardest placements, when we think about that on a global level. But in your own personal world, are there inner conflicts of, maybe in literal religion, or just faith in self, or faith in a higher being, faith in something, faith in a God, faith in something bigger than you, or faith in the unknown the biggest wisdom, the deepest wisdom. So that's Libra working out her conflicts in the ninth house with the Sun and Mars conjunct. Now in the 10th house, Libra is apparently seeing maybe the mother or the family as the issue, as the enemies. And this could be a atypical feeling of my family is shunning me out, or I'm the black sheep of the family. It could be certain things like that. But what is happening here is your capacity to find authority. And by adding beauty, adding, I mean, beauty on the most superficial level, adding beauty to your reputation, to your image, adding a sense of harmony, adding these roles of peace to your reputation, to what you want your reputation to be, will naturally unfold the conflict that you think that you're having with your family. So the art of war is finding the beauty that makes you an authority figure that people want to please, that people are compelled to want to please. And this will actually create a lot of men's in deep insecurity, like a deep sense of not feeling whole or not feeling like I have a foundation, right? Because you're really trying to implement your own foundation through loving yourself as being on top, loving yourself as being the CEO to some regards in your life, loving yourself as being the one who calls the shots is going to help mend your any sort of deep emotional insecurity that you may be feeling. Now, Libra in the 11th house is in conflict in Mars and the Sun, and is acting on war with the enemy of your talents and your personal expression. It's acting on war for your joy, but that's not the true enemy. The true enemy may be the people that you keep around yourself. That's the 11th house. The people that support you may be supporting an aspect of you that isn't really going to get you to the vision that you want in your life. So Libra here and Mars is putting on the heels and negotiating with these people to be like, all right, can we come to a space of vision that we both can agree on, even if it requires a lot of back and forth, as long as we can work on that art, and as long as we value each other, Venus, as long as we choose to love on each other, Venus, as long as we choose to be, harmonious with each other, we'll find that peace. Okay, now in the 12th house, it's a very specific place for the Sun and Mars to be, because they are almost drowning in the 12th house. So it could be a repressed anger, that you're dealing with here, and the apparent enemy might be your work environment, a cliche job that you don't like, a cliche boss that's hassling you, a cliche need to work that is really pulling you down. And so that concept of even having to work, be at work, and work with these people and work on anything is pulling you into a deep, festering frustration. And the hardest part here is that when we're looking at the 12th and the first house, we're not really dealing with a relationship with another person as much as we're dealing with ourselves. And in the first house, we're dealing with our body image. But in the 12th house, we're dealing with our inner spiritual image. How it is that we see ourselves as innately good, right? Like innately an angel versus innately a devil. Do we see ourselves as those things? And that might be the true conflict that you're fighting with. Or it may be the literal angel and devil on your shoulder that might be fighting with Libra in the 12th house. So the art of bringing war to end the war with Venus here is about self-talk. And it can be applied for the first house too, but self-talk to a very specific aspect of yourself, which is self-talk to the part of you that you may feel is inherently evil. Self-talk to the part of you that may be very shadowy, or the parts of you that you don't understand, and having a negotiation with that self This is a place of deep meditation and dreaming. So it may even be through the dreams that you're experiencing the negotiation. But you might even want to center your dreams around Venusian things, like create like focus on your bed and creating a more sacred space to sleep in. Could be how you apply Venus to help you mediate the war that is happening in your subconscious and in your dreams. Maybe by buying silk sheets, buying things that feel good, burning beautiful candles in your room to evoke the sense of smell. Anything that evokes the senses in your isolation or in your dream space could be how Venus will bring harmony and end the war through peace. So that is the concept of the sun and Mars moving through Libra right now and really going ham at the fight, but the diplomatic fight. And so I hope that this has brought you insight. And if you're interested in getting a reading where I'll break down all of the aspects that's happening this week in your chart, you just check the information down below and we can set up an audio reading, and I'll record myself speaking specifically about your chart and send you the audio. It will be an audio video file that you'll be able to access. Okay, so thank you so much for your time and attention. Peace and love. Bye.